My journey began by sending 12 small boxes back to Australia. The culmination of 23 years. And I took 2 suitcases and a laptop computer. There is a significance to the 2 suitcases. Arriving in Australia, lived with my mother, and we can only just imagine. Mother and we have always had a dynamic of struggle like many mothers and daughters, but we got through many things, which was good. My father, I knocked on his door, and it was the first time, when he opened it, it was the first time I'd seen him in 18 years because of a lot of other dynamics, and yet it was like we'd never parted. My father and I have always been very distant in many ways, but very, very similar. This man at 79 years old was still producing television commercials. He worked every day. He's 90 now, and he still does the same thing, and he's still working every day creating. So, you know, that's who he is. I learned his business of television production. He taught me from the ground up, something I'd never done, yet I knew it. I knew it. And I realized this is I'd gone on this beginning on this new journey to learn something about me. And I learned so profoundly that through the camera, even though I was on the other side, I started to learn that it told the truth. I would watch how it tells a truth of energy, and it became a great teacher for me. During this time, I fought a lot of things. With my mother, with my father, with myself mostly, because I felt like a fish out of water in the place that I was, in the country I was born. I didn't belong there. It's like horrible. To the point that my mother said, "You're not a nice person. You need to go and see a psychic." You know, which she's the one who introduced me to psychics many years ago. And there was this lady who did Egyptian astrology down near Byron Bay, which was about an hour from my parents. And so I putzed on down to see this lady, Claudia, I think her name was. And yes, she did. She changed my life. She gave me a reading, and out of it, she validated some information that I had been receiving through the nights on healing modalities, that I had done a lot of healing work and modalities in the US before I arrived, but it wasn't mine. I didn't understand it. You know, it was like, okay, it was there. But this lady gave me some validation on what I had been learning through the night. And then she dropped a bombshell. And I share these because many of us in our learning experiences, we have these out of body, off planet, internal psychic, clairvoyant messages, and there's no one to help us validate them. And this is so important to our internal intuitiveness of knowing we're on the right path or we're not. She picked up on the healing modalities, and she said, "There's a teacher that has come to be with you." And I was like, okay, what are you talking about? And she said, "I am being told to show you how you will know this teacher is with you." And so she proceeded to stand up and closed her eyes, and in her body there was this movement. And I looked at her and I was like, in that moment I was seeing something I hadn't seen before. But I had no name for it. And so she sat down and she said, this energy, this being, was a doctor from another time. And he is going to be working through you to teach you. And I am just like, this is insane. Although this is my verbiage on the outside. my verbiage on the inside is going, oh, I know this, I know this. So there's this conflict that we have, the outside and the inside. So she asked me to stand up and to close my eyes and to allow him to come through and let me feel how his presence is when in the safety of her presence. And so I did, and I'm going, oh my God, this is going to be interesting. So to say the least, I drove nearly off the road, this far above the road, the entire way back to my parents. Did I tell my mother? Heavens no. I mean, she would. She was not, even though she's a very, very gifted individual that she shut down many years ago, I was not going to go there with her at all. So I kept this all to myself. Over the next couple of weeks, this information processed, and also the processing this way. So in the nights, I was going through these dynamics of battling, who am I? What am I supposed to do? Plus working with my dad, and that was opening up on this side. And I came up with a modality, and I'm going, no, I haven't read anything about this in the books. This is not right. And the guidance, the verbiage, was it a voice talking to me? Well, yes, no, it's that fine line. What do we hear? What do we see? What do we touch and smell? How do we get those messages? So it was for me to, in a particular manner, particular framework, to put visual, hearing, touch, sense, smell, all of those things together in this little container, and sit somebody on a stool or a chair and do what I was guided to do. But first, to have the person stand behind the person, put my hands on the person, close my eyes, and allow my doctor to come in. Did I tell anybody? This? Not a soul. So here's me. I call up this friend who did some shamanic work. I didn't know her real well, but I said, I've got something to show you. Can you please let me do that? And so she was open. So I went over there that one night, and I said, I'm not going to say anything, just let me do this. So I told her to sit in a chair, and I walked behind her, and I put my hands on her shoulders, closed my eyes, and I went, ah. And there was this presence. And this presence, gosh, allowed information, not verbally, but to percolate through me. And as I moved and did the work with the spine, as I was told that the spine is the database, the mainframe of the human computer, and so everything is held here. And so I'm doing my little thing, and I'm getting this, like, whatever. And this friend of mine, she was gone. Not a move, not a flinch, nothing. And then it was maybe 20 minutes. And there was this energy, and it just went, whew, and I was back. And I was like, where did it go? And it was time for her to come back. So I told her, take a few deep breaths. And as she did, she took one, came back, another one, back, and the third one, she was right back in her body. And you could literally feel the layers just coming down, and she sat there. And she's like, whoa. And she just, and I walked around in front, and I sat on the floor in front of her, and I said, and what was that like? And she just, wow, that was so powerful. I'm like, really? She's like, oh. And it was, and then she told me what she'd experienced, and I'm just going, oh my God. And then I had to tell her what I experienced, for information, and we shared that. And I was like, wow, that was my first inkling of a dual purpose in this complete surrendering of my past life into understanding the minutest beginning of my new becoming. And that is as clear as I had it at that point in time.